Well, my next guest says that while security and privacy is important when dealing with data retention, he says that companies and their IT departments are more concerned with the inevitable surge in storage requirements. For more on how to store large amounts of data with a small footprint, Dheeraj Pandey, CEO of Nutanix, joins us now live from San Francisco. Mr. Pandey, look, thanks very much for your time today. I wanted to start with the idea of storage, but in particular, we've had a controversial issue over here, and that's the idea of data retention, metadata laws that went through Parliament here in Australia just last month. But from an industry point of view, there are certainly big questions of storage. Now, from your own view, how big an issue and how complex an issue is storing and securely storing vast levels of data?
Definitely it's become a big challenge, especially in the last 10 years, as we've had more mobile apps and mobile devices and more laptops and things like that, iPads and such. Obviously, ever since the Snowden fiasco, I think things have actually become even more of a challenge for, national sovereignty and other such reasons. We've obviously come to realize that in the last 2-3 years. And there's a lot of, cyber attacks that are actually been going on for the last couple of years as well. So things have gotten really challenging in the last 2 or 3 years with respect to the scale of data and then how do you really end up storing it. And obviously there's a ton of people talking about privacy issues with respect to what can you store and for how long can you really store it for. And so definitely a big challenge coming forward.
And how difficult is it then to do the storage and keep it secured?
Well, I mean, if you think about just the amount of data, the vastness of data that we're generating on an everyday basis. I mean, people say that humankind today is generating data in one day that we actually generated in an entire century.
Goodness.
So that's how challenging the scale of data generation itself is. And then you add on top of that search and real-time analytics on top of it. I mean, you talked about metadata and the fact that we have to store all this information about calls that people make on telephones. I mean, it's not just being able to store it, but also being able to retrieve it, sometimes even in real time. Like, when you think about the amount of engineering efforts that Google has spent on the search box and the auto-completeness and such features, you've got to do some of that stuff with these network service providers. I think it's a massive and a very gargantuan effort as well. And same thing with security, because we live in this very interconnected world where all the computer devices are connected to each other and back to the internet as well. And there's always somebody who's trying to create some sort of a chaos with respect to data that's stored within apparently secure zones.
And with the huge flows of data, the ever-increasing flow of data that's now also having to be stored, and as you say, having to be recalled, it seems almost in real time, do you see that threatening some of the traditional telcos, some of the traditional ISP business models, structures, and indeed their viability into the future?
I think it definitely looks like a big challenge to some of those companies that have not innovated at all. I mean, when some of these service providers look at Google as a company and then Google getting into, for example, a Wi-Fi business, they look at the infrastructure, the strength of the infrastructure that companies like Google and Facebook have. And if some of these next generation web scale internet companies actually get into that business of providing service, whether it's a wireless service or a Wi-Fi service, I think it becomes extremely imperative for these companies to go and innovate. And the problem is that they've been caught sleeping on the wheels. I mean, they continue to buy a lot of traditional infrastructure because they have a very conservative way of looking at technology. They don't have the engineering prowess to really go and innovate on their own. And a lot of the infrastructure they actually buy to support these next generation security requirements are coming at a huge cost. So, I mean, at some level, the margin pressures, the ability to, save data for too long cannot come without really having something give. And what will actually give is their overall profitability.
And is that when you get some of the smaller, more agile operators stepping in terms of providing that an opportunity for storage and on a smaller footprint? Is that where the growth market is?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you, rewind just about 10, 15 years ago, this is exactly what happened to the wireless industry as well. Like AT&T and Verizon, all these companies, they basically acquired a lot of these small cellular providers because they're more agile, as opposed to the companies that were supposed to innovate, and they were pretty happy just serving the landline customers. I think something very similar is going on in this new day and age, where the smaller ones, which will actually have better, more agile technology, more economical technology, will probably come to survive. And it's possible that some of them will also get acquired by these big companies.
What about you? What about Nutanix itself, the company just surpassing the $2 billion US dollar mark just late last year? Future growth ambitions for the company, what are they?
Well, we've done pretty well. We're barely 5+ years in age, and more than 1,000 employees now. And I was listening to your last interview about raising money and all that. We raised about $320 million in the last 5 rounds, and these 1,000 employees that we have are in about 35 countries. We're shipping in 60+ countries. So done quite well in the last 5 years, and a lot of what we really go and address is to make some of these traditional conservative buyers of technology, have them look at something that's new, that's more internet company-like, and really have them go and change the way they actually do their business. So I think we've had a pretty good success. Obviously, valuations are valuations, but I think we look forward to the next 5 years as we talk about Act 2 of this company. We're having our first user conference in June in Miami, Florida. And we're going to talk a whole lot more about how companies like us, who, if we have to continue to thrive and do well, we got to go and mine our own exhaust. And mining our own exhaust is actually a pretty important thing for any sustainable, long-lasting company. So.
And that sort of conversation, are you having that with companies here in the Australia, New Zealand market? And if so, what is the reception like? Is there an openness and a realization of the need for services such as yours?
Oh, it's phenomenal. I think, what we do is kind of building the iPhone-like form factor for data centers of next generation. And we have more than 100 customers in Australia itself, 2 of the largest telcos, 2 of the largest 4 banks, quite a few government organizations, some really large universities. So it's pretty big, actually. I mean, the largest private healthcare provider, they're all our customers. And the best part is that they are repeat customers of Nutanix. They're building some very large private clouds. And again, going back to the idea of cloud, which is exactly what is going to be the big challenge for a lot of these large telcos, large service providers who have continued to buy a lot of technology equipment like as if there was no tomorrow. And having these folks to really look at the pay-as-you-grow model, elastic infrastructure, stuff that they can buy today but can go and scale tomorrow. Is what we're going and talking to these customers about.
Dheeraj Pandey, I do have to leave it there, but it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.